Hello, everybody. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. This is the day before Thanksgiving. Hopefully all of you will have a great Thanksgiving. Patricia will not be joining me today. She's on her way to visit her mother in Florida. But for today, what we're going to talk about is the BRRRR method, my favorite topic. It basically combines fix and flip, buy and hold. And the real key here is it gives you security. What really brought this to my attention was just recently, it was announced today that if you had invested in the stock market $10,000 on January 1st, you were actually doing pretty good. But as of yesterday, the market left you flat, so you didn't make a dime. And that's one of the problems with the market. Over the long term, it gives you around a 7%. And then it was further brought to my attention that the 90-year-olds have more than tripled since 1980. So the real question is, are you going to outlive your money? Okay, we know all the statistics about Social Security, et cetera, et cetera. And on this slide, I talk about all the horrors. But what I'm really talking about here is if you had investment property, not talking about an apartment building, something relatively simple like a 2 or 3 family house, that would give you security. Because real estate, unlike the stock market, you got control, you're getting appreciation, you're getting cash flow, and you're getting tax benefits. So not saying to put every dime you have, but you should consider putting it in. And the BRRRR method, which we're going to talk about, is really the method that can get you these kinds of properties. I mean, my own personal objective is determine the dollar amount that I want each month from the number of rental properties I have, right? And when I do that is I basically look at my mortgage, my taxes, my insurance, my grocery bill, car. I don't look at vacation, everything else. I just look at the exact amount I need just to live. And I try and get as many properties to support that. 2, I try to grow exponentially. So when I started this years ago, my objective was to buy 1 house in a year, and then the next year buy 2. Not necessarily a house, but units. So first year I bought a single family house. Second year I bought a 2-family. Next year I bought a 3-family. Now after 3 years, I'm doing pretty good, and I can actually buy 2 2-families. Anyway, that's the whole point of this, is to accumulate wealth through real estate. Okay, so BRRRR officially stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. When using the BRRRR method, right, the trick here is to buy properties for the right price that need work. You basically add value by doing that work, and you refinance out and get as much as your money is back as possible. So it's not the number of properties that's important. It's owning the right properties. Okay. A classic example, this is a real live example, is 87 Argyle Drive. It's in Shirley. Okay. Now, just a background, purchasing property can be capital intense. If you're going to buy them all without using the BRRRR method, you're going to have to spend a significant amount of cash, and most people don't have that. Okay, but here is the idea, is to use 20 to 25% down and basically get your money back. Okay, this is the story of Argyle and how it worked out really well. It was bought for $90,000, renovations were $40,000, it rents for $20,000 plus a year, and it got refinanced at $122,000. Okay, so basically the deal was $145,000 less the $122,000, and there was cash in the deal of $23,000. Okay, here's how the numbers basically broke out. Now, we rented it for $1,700 a month, which is $20,000 a year. Less PITI stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Here they are monthly. Here they are on a annual basis, and I put in things like vacancy, repairs, capex, and management fee. Effectively, vacancy is for the 2 or 3 months that nobody's going to be there. I'm making sure I reserve $1,000 a year. Okay. Someday capex is the roof is going to break. doesn't happen every year, but every 15 years or so. So I'm reserving money in advance. The bottom line is, after paying for the 2 closings, total amount in the deal was $28,000, and we make $4,524 a year with absolutely no headaches. That's reserving for everything. That's a 16% return on investment. You don't get that on Wall Street consistently. This is consistent 16%. So I started talking. This year, you got wiped out. You made 0. Okay? Last year, maybe you made, I don't know, 20%. So that's over a 2-year period, 10%. But this is a consistent 16% that you can put in the bank. Okay? So step 1 is buying the property. Okay? There are 3 basic parts to this. You have to buy it, buy the property. So you have to find it, analyze it, and close. Okay? In general, the best properties for doing this are what we call off-market. That's where you kind of stumbled on a property. The ideal situation would be you're driving for dollars, you find an abandoned house, you're able to contact the seller, you're the only game in town, and you're able to buy it. Okay? These things do happen, not very often, but they do. While MLS is the place to find them, most of the time MLS has a lot of competition. Okay? And I have not found any houses on MLS recently. Not saying it's impossible, it's just very difficult to do. One of the ways you can, if you do find a house that needs work, is to follow up continuously. Just last month, we had a house that we've been following up for over a year for an investor, and our persistence paid off. Many deals died for whatever reason, and he was able to finally get the house at a very good price. Okay? Some of the things you should be doing is direct mail. When you go into work, you drive by houses, it's pretty clear. It doesn't necessarily have to be boarded up, but you can tell after a while which houses don't exist. People knock on doors, put up bandit signs. We buy houses. MLS. Bird dogs. People pay. If you isolate an area you absolutely will want to be in. I personally look at 2 areas. I pay mailmen to tell me where there are empty houses that I can go after. That's a bird dog. There's many, many methods that can be used. Okay? On direct mail, just while you're sitting around watching TV, you handwrite a couple of, even if you did 10 envelopes every night. While you're sitting there watching whatever's dribble is on TV as the stomach churns, just write a simple letter that says, "Hi, my name is Mike. I would love to purchase your house. Please give me a call or write me at this number," and I always put in PS. Even if you're not willing to sell right now, it'd be nice to hear from you. Okay? Straight, honest, no sales, no flashy. One of the lists that we look for is absentee owners and where they have a high net worth. So there are lists out there. They're relatively cheap. If you want, you can contact us. We can get them for you. So the house is worth $200,000. The guy has a mortgage of $60,000, and you can tell he lives in Wisconsin and he's renting a house in Long Island. These people may, if you hit them right, be looking to get rid of the house. Probate is another one. That's where somebody has passed on. The children inherit the house. They may be from out of town. In many cases, the houses are very outdated. They need some work. That's another way. The trick here is to get the house at the right price. Okay? We've done many webinars on how to analyze a house. And if you go back to some of the webinars, we give you a deal analyzer that shows you exactly how to do it. And this way you know that you're getting a reasonable deal. The BRRRR calculator is free, and as a matter of fact, Long Island REO will be sponsoring effectively a 2-day workshop that will be the BRRRR method, where that will be on January 19th and 20th, where it'll be gone over all of these things in detail: how to buy, how to rent, etc. Okay. Now, once you do this, now you have to close the deal, and this is the refinancing, and which we'll go into big detail at the end of this. But the The trick is to get this house for the right price at a reasonable amount of repairs and borrow the money to fix it up. Step 2 is the rehab. By the way, any of you out there who find a great deal, if you think money's a problem, it's not a problem. Come to us, we will get you the money. We'll joint venture, we'll find somebody, but it has to be a good deal, okay? Rehab. The beauty of the BRRRR method is that makes it even better for rehabbing. If you're buying something to fix and flip, the house has to be perfect, better than perfect. So the kitchen has to be brand new. The baths have to be brand new. You have to have granite countertops. Everything must look really good. For a rental, it just has to be neat and clean. It doesn't necessarily have to have granite countertop or even a new kitchen. An old kitchen cleaned up, repainted, re-scraped, and is just as good. Okay, so for example, in the BRRRR method, let's say you picked a new kitchen for $10,000, right? Or you can just touch up the existing one for $5,000. Okay, a $10,000 kitchen may increase your rent by $150, which is an 18% return on investment, right? Because that rent increase $1,800 a year, not a bad return. But the other option is if you invested $5,000, it would increase your rent to $100 a month for a 24% return. These are the kinds of analysis you need to do in order for this to be helpful. BRRRR method number 3, finding the tenant. Look, we can do an entire webinar on this in and of itself. It's landlording. But the most important thing to do is make sure you get applications and to get many tenants as you possibly can, and you need to screen them effectively. Okay? Make sure that you post as many pictures as you can, because the idea is you want as many people as possible to take a look at your property so you can get a very large number of tenants to select. Okay? Screening is critical. What we're really talking about here is the ability to pay. Okay? And that should be your sole determination. Can these people pay the rent, and will they pay it on time? Look, in this case, past performance really dictates future performance. If these people have been paying their rent on time, that's why you run credit reports. If they're up to date on most of their credit cards, they will be also up to date on their rent. Get their Social Security number. You can run a credit check. If you can speak to their last landlord, that's a little tricky because you have to get that information not necessarily from them. So if they say, yeah, my last landlord was John Doe and here's his number, it's better if you can figure out how to independently contact John Doe. Could be just their friend. Verify that they have a job. Okay. The last landlord, you want to make sure that they never been to court and got evicted. Okay? Have a written lease. These are just the basics. Now, if you do have a good tenant, you really want to make sure that you maintain them. Because remember we put 5% for vacancy? Well, if you have vacancy for 2 or 3 months, you're losing money. Okay? So you want to make sure you maintain the property. You have a good lease. You screen the tenants. If you're good to them, they'll be good for you. Even send them a Christmas card. Something, incentives to save money. It makes them easy to pay the rent, and that's the real trick. You want tenants that pay the rent, keep the place reasonably clean. You want to keep those tenants as long as you can. Step number 4, which is refinancing. Now, you've come to Everyday Capital. We've gotten you a hard money loan. You've fixed the property in a few months. You've rented it out, and now it's time to refinance. What we're going to do is get you a bank loan. Many banks require 6 months of seasoning. We will make sure that, depending on how you need it, we can shop the market to get you the best bank that may or may not need this long of seasonings. Banks will lend you about 70 to 75% of the appraised value. Okay, you should be all in at 70 to 80%. Okay, the trick is to have the house neat and clean and rented. You provide the bank with the leases to show that it's called debt coverage ratio. So the bank is going to analyze how much your mortgage is, how much your taxes are, insurance, and they're going to see how much rent you collected. So let's just, here's a classic example of the BRRRR method, okay? You roll in at 150, and that's 75% of the house, which is worth 200,000, okay? So you should be able to refinance out at 155,000, okay? Now, each one of these, my personal thing is to generate at least $100 a month, but even that generates a significant return better than the stock market, okay? Once you've refinanced out and got most of your money back, you're able to repeat the process and buy your next property. That's effectively how the BRRRR method works, okay? So repeat, okay? Again, here's an example. A distressed duplex got for $160,000. Bank was dying to get rid of it. We knew that the property was worth $250,000 and we needed $40,000 worth of work. We were all in at $55,000, okay? And we were able to refinance this out and get the vast majority of our money back and cash flow. That's the BRRRR method, ideally, okay? Now let's just talk about financing, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up in BRRRR. There are 5 critical steps. Find the lender. Everyday Capital is dedicated to helping people find lenders, because we're actually investors, so we can do both the hard money and the takeout loan. But if you don't use us, you still need to find a lender. You need to get your finances in order, because lenders are going to look at your finances, even though it may not appear in your credit report. They're going to look for your finances. Your application and timely responses are critical for the lender and critical for you getting the loan. Make your property shine. You're going to be appraised. So the appraisal, are human like everybody else. They see something they really like, they're going to do it. Understand both the lending process, the hard money, and the takeout. The hard money guy is going to have different criteria and is going to look at the property differently than the man with the takeout loan. Okay? Best way to find lenders is a referral. But before you apply, you want to know, does this going to impact your personal credit report? This happened to me. I ended up where I didn't think I was going to. Now suddenly every time I run my credit, I found out I have an additional mortgage, which is actually being paid for by the property itself, but that doesn't appear in your credit report. Okay, you need to have your stated income or your assets or your personal income. You need to have the loan to cost and the maximum amount. Do you want to know if there's seasoning requirements? If a bank is 6 months and you're going to be finished in 2, that's a problem. You want to find a bank that is 2 months and what documentation they require. Okay, get your finances in order. Make sure your taxes are filed. You know, everybody has until probably early September, late October. But if you're applying and you're applying in, say, August, they're going to expect you to have your taxes filed. Okay? Know your correct payoff amount. If you're refinancing out, you got to know how much, get a payoff letter from the hard money to make sure everything is included. Make sure there's no outstanding taxes or liens. If you hired a mechanic, make sure he has not filed a lien on the property, right? The leases are accurate and complete. Banks check these things. Income from property is recorded. You can prove it. You have canceled checks. Bank statements showing reserves. If you have absolutely no money in the bank and something goes wrong, I don't have a flood, and it's going to cost you $1,000 to repair the ceiling, the bank isn't going to let you give you the money because they expect you to have a few $1,000s in reserve, okay? And do not apply, oh, here, my favorites. Make sure that you don't apply for any credit activity while you're getting financing. We had an example just last month where a woman decided she just had to have a Mercedes, and she applied, and the amount was $660 a month. Just before they closed, the bank did a quick look at her credit, and they immediately lowered the amount and increased the interest rate because they're not going to cover something where their debt-to-income ratio suddenly spikes. Okay? Submitting your application, timely responses. Okay? You're going to have to submit all your pages in the application. Be efficient and mindful of the lender's knowledge. Disagreeing with documents the lender says. Granted, some of them are going to be stupid, but there are some stupid federal laws that require these things to be done. Okay? If you don't like it, then talk to your congressman, because most banks just don't create these docs for the hell of it. Timely is very important. Try to get back to them within 24 hours, and they should do the same thing. Expect additional docs, letters, statements. If you think that you're going to fill out one application and provide a couple of docs, that isn't in the new world. Ever since the crash, Congress has mandating more and more things. Okay? Step 4, make your property shine. I alluded to this earlier, but the better it looks, the better the value will be. And the appraiser, those comps, he may increase the price by a little bit. That can help you. Okay? So the moral of the story is you have to know your market, make sure that it's neat and clean. You don't have to over-improve the property. You just need to do enough so that it appraises for the true value. Step 5 is understand the process. Okay? It's very simple. Banks are going to lend to people who they believe has the ability to pay them back. They're going to expect you to have some skin in the game, or to have a partner that's skin in the game. Okay? You got to disclose everything about it. Do not lie about an investment house being a primary house. Okay? Loans with rehabbers must be disclosed. Okay? Impress the lender showing professional incompetency. The lending office is going to be your advocate, not your adversary. So help them as best as you can. Everyday capital or everyday funding is going to go to bat for you. So we're on your side, and we need to know all the information that you have. This way we can process it as best we can and put the best face on everything. Finally, in summary, we are going to be having a very comprehensive, I know this was a lot to cover, very comprehensive thing on the BRRRR method, which is probably your very best method. It's going to be January 19th and 20th over a weekend. Okay? If you need a loan, contact Patricia. You can either call her or send her an email. If you want to copy this PowerPoint, we have a slide here. This is the download. It's http://tiny.cc/edfpp. Have a great Thanksgiving, and thank you very much.